Former Minister Shankar Aiyar is making headlines with his second edition of his autobiography, that is A Maverick in Politics. And for more on this, I have with me Mr. Shankar Aiyar himself. So thank you for speaking with India today, sir. Sir, I'll begin with your tenure as a minister, cabinet minister during Manmohan Singh era. How do you recall it? And given the fact that you've served in at least 3 ministries, if I'm not wrong.
4.
4, okay, thank you. How do you recall it, and how was the working or functioning of that time, if you can just share with us, sir?
It's a very easy question to answer. Owing to Dr. Manmohan Singh's government performance in UPA 1, the Congress party's seats in parliament rose from 140 in 2004 to 206 in 2009. The country clearly endorsed Dr. Manmohan Singh. All his special steps in foreign policy, in economic policy, in keeping the country together, in keeping us secular, in maintaining very, very strictly the constitutional norms. So it was an outstanding period, one of the best periods that we had in independent India.
Saying it was an outstanding era, in an era where you've done a lot of developmental works for the country. But what then happened that in 2014 you were reduced to 44 seats, and there were a lot of criticism about the way coalition worked at that point of time, although you were not part of the government from 2009 to 2014, but you were very much active in the politics. So how do you recall that?
I think the annus horribilis, that is the worst year for us, was 2012. Because on the one hand, Sonia ji, as the president of the party, fell very seriously ill and had to be treated abroad. And Dr. Manmohan Singh had numerous bypasses. I'm told that there were 6 bypasses. So he too was in very ill health. So that made the party leaderless and the government leaderless. At that time, in 2012, we also got the Anna Hazare movement, which I think was extremely badly handled by the government at that time. First, Anna Hazare was denied permission to hold his rally and his fast in the Ramlila grounds and told to do it somewhere near the Rajghat. Then they changed their mind under public pressure and allowed him to do whatever he had to do at the Ramlila grounds. And to assist him in doing this, Baba Ramdev arrived in his private plane, if you don't mind, from Haridwar to Delhi. And there at Delhi airport to receive him were 3 senior Congress ministers. I regard that as the lowest point in the history of the Congress since 1885. That 3 ministers should be at Palam Airport to receive a character like Baba Ramdev. But they had a purpose. They more or less kidnapped him and took him to Claridge's Hotel. And in Claridge's Hotel, they thought they had persuaded him to sign a piece of paper that he would not join Anna Hazare. So Baba Ramdev signed on it. Then usko chutkara mila, he came out. And he went straight from Claridge's to Ramlila grounds. And when he reached the Ramlila grounds, the general hangama became even greater. And in these circumstances, the Home Minister decided to conduct a police demonstration, a lathi charge on these people. But it went at 3 o'clock in the morning. So everybody was sleeping. And these sleeping demonstrators were beaten till they woke up and ran away. And among those who ran away was Baba Ramdev hiding in a burqa. Now we all had a great laugh at that. But the fact of the matter is that we took a very big blow in terms of our image. The third thing that happened is that there was to be a presidential election in 2012. And it was a golden opportunity for us to get out of the problem created by an ill Congress president and an ill Prime Minister. it would have been to make Dr. Manmohan Singh, with all honors that the country could give him, the President of India, which is the highest position that the Constitution confers on anybody, and to make Pranab Mukherjee, who was in good health, had enormous experience as a minister, the Prime Minister. Then it wouldn't, and indeed he could have even taken over the party if necessary. But we didn't do that, and the result was a leaderless party and a leaderless government went into the 2014 election. And although Rahul had been elected vice president of the party in 2013, he was in a sense too new to the task to prevent the disaster that overtook us, that we fell to 44 seats. And I watched Rajiv Gandhi get 404 seats in December 1984. To fall from 404 to 44 is a tragedy that requires a Greek writer to write it up.
BJP often mock Congress, saying that what Narendra Modi has got in 2024, you got in 3 consecutive elections together. I mean, 99, 44 and 52.
I will give an answer to that. What we got in one election in 1984 is about 10 times more than they got in the elections of 52, 57, 62, 67, 72, 77, 71, 77, 84 put together. So this is a nonsensical argument typical of the BJP. They distort things, they tell lies, and they use the most vulgar language. They have reduced our democracy to a mobocracy.
Sir, but there is a valid, argument that your party has been not performing really up to the expectations. I mean, 2014, 19, and in 24, there was a collective effort called India Bloc.
That's the answer.
Collective effort.
That is where the answer lies. I think the Congress, I've said it at great length in my book, the Congress is no longer the natural party of governance. That is how we had described the Congress at the Pachmadi conclave in 1998, I think it was, that we were the natural party of governance. I think we now need to wake up to the fact that we are not anymore, and for the foreseeable future, not the natural party of governance. And the only way we can become part of the government is to put together an alliance ahead of the elections to ensure that the alliance is cohesive, that it has a certain credibility, that it has a common platform, that it talks in one voice, and that it brings together all the leaders of the secular forces. And it doesn't have to be under the leadership of the Congress.
Exactly, that's what I was coming to. Mamata Banerjee herself insisted that if people would come and want, then she is ready to take up the leadership role as far as India Bloc is concerned. She was endorsed by Lalu Prasad Yadav, Sharad Pawar, and many other India Bloc leaders. Do you think that time is ripe to someone else to just take up the leadership role?
In my view, this leadership of the India Alliance or the India Bloc is a red herring. To my mind, all these leaders, including Rahul, are entirely capable of running it. But I think it is in the interest of the Congress party that we should stoop to conquer. I don't know if you're familiar with this expression, but it is the title of a very famous play written in English in the 18th century. She stooped to conquer. So in order to conquer, if we stoop by saying that whoever wants to take over the leadership can do so, and leave it to the election that we win, rather than seek a crown when the throne is with somebody else. So why are we concerned as to who is going to become the next Prime Minister? That we'll see after the next election, or whichever election it is that the India Bloc wins. At the moment, we need to make the India Bloc strong, and for that, anybody of a high reputation, I take the name of Mr. Stalin. I take the name of Mamta Banerjee. I take the name of Tejeshwi Prasad, not Lalu because he's really grown a little too old. I take the name of Akhilesh. I'm even willing, reluctantly, to take the name of Kejriwal. Certainly, I can take the name of Sharad Pawar. So, any one of these, including Rahul Gandhi, can be the leader of the India, which is an alliance, an electoral alliance. Let's make that strong. Let's give it a name which is recognized. Let us give it a program that is common to all of us. Let us give it a vocabulary that distinguishes us from the BJP. The BJP has never won the support of the Indian people. Into 2014, which seems to have impressed you hugely, and in 2019, they got only less than 40% of the vote, which means a majority of Indians, 60% or more. It was much more in 2014, it was a little less in 2019, and in 2024, it only came down by 1%. So 60% Indians, which means about 50% Hindus, have never voted for the BJP. Never. So therefore, there is nothing that is, divine about Mr. Modi. He may think he's an instrument of God. He may think that he's non-biological. But he's as human as you and me. And since you can be defeated, since I have been defeated, I'm sure Modi can be defeated. But it requires a recognition of the political reality.
And do you see honest efforts being taken by these political parties, I mean opposition parties, to actually put a counter to the narrative of BJP?
Well, I'd like to see them do it. Otherwise, why would I be stressing it? I don't think it's done adequately so far. But despite not being done adequately, look at the outcome. The India bloc was only 10 seats behind Modi. If only a little more effort had been put into consolidating the India bloc, then maybe one of the India bloc leaders would today have been the Prime Minister. We only needed another 10 seats.
Recently, there were elections in 4 states.
And if those 10 seats had come to us, I'm sure that Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar would have drifted to our side. So we'd have easily made the government. Now you're taking up 2 assembly elections. Yes. I know what you're going to do. How can you compare assembly elections?
I'm asking, there were 4 election, says that we saw recently. There were 2 states where you were in coalition. There were 2 states where you were either in direct contest with BJP or you were the largest party in coalition in Maharashtra. Both states you lost, sir. Do you think that, I'm just quoting you only, do you think that in direct contest between BJP and Congress, BJP has been outshining Congress?
Sometimes. More of the time, the Congress has been outshining. I have a 75-year perspective because I'm a historian. You have a 75-hour perspective because you're a newsman. When I look back over 75 years, the Congress has been repeatedly defeating and crushing the BJP. It's only of late that they have come up. And maybe today we need somebody else's help to be able to take on the BJP in Madhya Pradesh. But Madhya Pradesh is only one province of India. In Jharkhand we have won, haven't we? Yeah. In Himachal we have won.
Jharkhand, it was a coalition.
It was.
Junior partner.
Yeah, but we were with them.
In J&K you won, again junior partner.
In J&K, so this is what is meant by the India Alliance. There will be different parties that are in the lead in different parts of the country, and the Congress will be in the lead where it seems to be the principal challenger. And where the Congress is the principal challenger, there is a major fight with the BJP, I grant that. But if the India Alliance is to win, now take Haryana, there was a straight fight, and Rahul Gandhi had ensured that we would enter the Haryana election in coalition with or in alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party. But unfortunately, after making that decision, he went away to America for 4 days, and while he was away, the entire alliance unraveled. And by the time he came back, the candidates had been declared from both parties. So we came behind the BJP by 1%. Nothing much. If only what Rahul had made arrangements for before going to America had prevailed, had he not gone to America, or that when he came back, he had overruled these people who had changed that arrangement, Bhupinder Hooda might well be the Chief Minister of Haryana. So don't take 1% as determining what is the Congress, what is the opposition. In Maharashtra, it's been a very unexpected result. Unexpected not because the BJP coalition has succeeded, but because as between the provisional result given, the provisional vote count given, and the final vote count given, there is a difference of 8%. How can there be a difference of 8% when traditionally we've had always some difference between the provisional count and the final count? But the final count has never been more than 1%, more than the provisional count. This time it's 8%. And then the bulk of the votes, or a huge number of these votes, was cast after 5 p.m. Now, there's a clear calculation that has been made that if all the votes that were allegedly cast after 5 p.m. as a result of people being inside the compound and given a token to say that they were here by 5 o'clock, if you gave them 1 minute's time for every vote, and the fact is it takes about 5 minutes, but just give them 1 minute's time for every vote, it would have taken 16 hours for all of them to have voted between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. when they closed. So obviously there is some garbar, there's something wrong. And it is the job, the duty, not of the Congress party, but of the Election Commission to look at this astonishing figure. Instead of doing that, the Chief Election Commissioner hides behind the dhoti of Mr. Modi. Now, is that his job? What has happened is the institutions of democracy, what made us the greatest democracy in the world, have all been subverted in the last 10 or 11 years. And as a result of that, our people are beginning to lose faith in the democratic process. And that is why I think it is imperative that the India bloc get its act together and not behave as it did in Haryana and as it did in Maharashtra, and show that it is capable of actually being an entity with credibility and integrity. And if that happens, then defeating Modi is baएं हाथ की सफाई. We'll easily beat him. He has never gained even 40% of the national vote.
One last question, sir. P. Chidambaram, former minister, he made an observation and said, I'm quoting him, he said that this country has shifted, seems to have shifted towards right. A, do you subscribe to his views? Second, how do you see the ongoing mandir masjid disputes arising in all across the country, people going to courts, getting ASI survey orders, because obviously this is vitiating the atmosphere on ground zero. These two things, sir.
It is vitiating the atmosphere because it is anti-constitutional and it's anti-legal. It's so amazing that our magistrates and sessions judges at lower levels are allowing petitions that prima facie are against the Places of Worship Act 1991. So when they are prima facie against that, why are they permitting these surveys? And as a result of their permitting these surveys, there are people who are dying, there are people who are getting injured. And I'm very glad the Chief Justice of India has put a stop to this. I'm referring to the current Chief Justice, not the puppet who was the previous Chief Justice. I'm talking about this remarkable man, the son of a remarkable judge, who held his own against Mrs. Gandhi during the emergency. I am an admirer of the father and I am a great admirer of the son. And it's a pity that the son is only going to have a few months as the Chief Justice of India. But in this short period, he has put a stop to what you and I recognize as an attempt to stoke anti-Muslim feeling, which is why I am against this whole project of Hindutva. Hindutva is based on hatred of our past. The secular constitution says the past is the past. It is for historians to study that, not for politicians today to say कि हम आज के मुसलमान से इंतकाम लेंगे क्योंकि औरंगजेब ने जजिया लगाया. You want to put a jizya on Muslims today? I mean, what does this nonsense mean? And yet, nothing that Modi or Amit Shah ever says in Parliament has anything to do with the issue in Parliament. They'll pick up Jawahar Lal Nehru, they'll pick up Ambedkar, they'll pick up Mahatma Gandhi, and they distort history. What they have said about Nehru and Ambedkar is utter lies, total lies. And in these circumstances, I don't know if you have the time, but I would like to read out to you a letter written by Jawahar Lal Nehru to Dr. Ambedkar on the 27th of September 1951. Do you have enough time?
Yes, we can.
Okay, in that case.
I wanted to ask you the same also, that BJP is saying that you ensured that that Dr. Ambedkar gets defeated in Lok Sabha, he never comes to Parliament again. You insulted him, embarrassed him.
All right. I find I may not be able to answer your question. I may not be able to answer Modi and Shah, but I do think Jawaharlal Nehru can. On the 27th of September 1951, Dr. Ambedkar wrote a letter to Jawaharlal Nehru expressing the desire to resign from the cabinet. And Jawaharlal Nehru replied to Dr. Ambedkar on the same day, 27 September 1951. He begins the letter by saying, "My dear Ambedkar." He doesn't say, "Dear Dr. Ambedkar." He doesn't say, "Dear Minister." He demonstrates his affection for a colleague by saying, "My dear Ambedkar." And then his letter says that I have been intrigued, mystified is the word he uses. I have been mystified by reports that I have seen in the press that you are planning to resign. And then he says that at the beginning of this session, I'm now quoting to you, you spoke to me about your ill health. And I know, of course, that you have not been keeping well. In view of your ill health and your desire to resign from the cabinet, I cannot press you to stay here, to stay on. I should like to express, however, my appreciation of our comradeship. He's calling him a comrade. Our comradeship during these years since we have worked together in the cabinet. In other words, Nehru is putting behind him whatever differences he might have had with Dr. Ambedkar till 1946. He's saying here that in the cabinet, which Dr. Ambedkar joined in 1946, they have been comrades working in a common cause. He then goes to say, we have differed sometimes. Gandhi differed with Nehru. Gandhi differed with Subhash Chandra Bose. Gandhi differed with Sardar Patel. Gandhi differed with Rajaji, who was his Sambandhi. And Gandhi differed above all with Nehru. And yet he nominated him. He wrote in He said in 1940 that after I am gone, it is not Sardar, it is not CR, it is not, he mentioned some other names, but Jawahar Lal who will succeed me. And when I am gone, he adds, Jawahar will speak my language. So there were differences. That is part of being a democratic movement. So so please let me finish. So Nehru says to Ambedkar, we have differed sometimes, but that has not affected my appreciation of the good work that you had done. I'm sorry, he says, I'm sorry indeed that you will be going away. I can quite understand, he adds, your great disappointment at the fact that the Hindu Code Bill could not be passed in this session, and that even the marriage and divorce part of it had ultimately to be postponed. Please remember that at this time, there was only a week to go for the last session of Parliament before the elections of 1951-52, which started in December and continued till February. So he says that I share your disappointment that the Hindu bill could not be passed. I know very well how hard you've labored at it and how keenly you have felt about it. Although I have not been intimately connected with the bill, I have been long convinced of its necessity. Nehru saying this. I am convinced of the necessity, and I was anxious that it should be passed. I tried my utmost, but the fates and the rules of Parliament were against us. It seemed clear to me that nothing that we could do could get it through during this session of Parliament. I shall not give up the fight because I think it is intimately connected with any progress on any front that we desire to make. अब इसको लेकर to say that Nehru was kicked Ambedkar out of the cabinet and that he then had him defeated. Ambedkar was not in the Congress party. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, who was one of Nehru's ministers, was not in the party. Shanmugam Shetty was not in the Congress party, nor was John Mathai, who succeeded him as finance minister. The first government of India was a national government. Then we had an election. And in that election, every party put up its candidates. And so did Congress. Now, Nehru didn't go to the constituency and said, don't vote for Ambedkar. He put up somebody who was a minor local official. And here was Dr. Ambedkar with a nationwide reputation. And if he gets defeated, it doesn't mean that Nehru defeated him. It was the candidate who defeated him. So I can easily say that the person who opposed Narendra Modi was defeated by Narendra Modi. That's not true. Narendra Modi won in the same way that congressman won, and that happened again in 1956. There was no 57. There was no need whatsoever for Ambedkar to be supported by the Congress when he himself did not want the Congress. He was brought into the cabinet at the instance of Mahatma Gandhi, although Gandhiji and Ambedkarji had very serious differences.
Yes.
It was Gandhiji who brought him into the cabinet. It was Nehruji who made Ambedkar the chairman of the drafting committee, and therefore it is Gandhi and Nehru who made Dr. Ambedkar the father of the constitution. And here you're insulting all these people by twisting history, by speaking lies. I don't know what's wrong with the BJP. Whenever they open their mouth, they just don't seem to know the truth. It is nothing but lies, hatred, violence that comes out of their mouths, and they are damaging the unity of the country. And if they are allowed to stay on, they're going to harm us to the point where the nation may disintegrate. It is absolutely essential that Rahul Gandhi rise to his tasks and ensure that the alliance is consolidated before the next general election, and that in the next general election, the voice of the majority of India coming through the India alliance prevails. And we end this aberrant period of Indian history, for we have 5,000 years of history behind us, and Modi has 10 years of misrule behind him. And if you would kindly read the last chapter of my book called Curtain Call, you will see the reasons for which I am absolutely convinced that this country's future lies in Nehru's idea of India prevailing over the alternative idea of India that from Savarkar's time onwards, the RSS and now Mr. Modi are trying to promote.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking with us. So that was Mr. Shankar Aiyar, as always, never mincing the word and pouring his heart in the conversation. With Rajeev Kumar, this is Rahul Gautam reporting for India Today.